We are bombarded daily with advertising and questions about cloud computing. Today I bring you some arguments to consider. Before launching yourself into the wind and jumping wholeheartedly into the cloud, consider how these arguments about cloud computing can affect you and your business. We constantly hear that cloud computing is ideal for individuals and companies today, but that does not mean that there are no disadvantages to this computing format and that everyone should immediately launch their servers and desktop software and carry out all business operations into the cloud. Over the years, I've been analyzing a series of issues related to this subject, and I constantly feel confronted with the different approaches that can be used to address this challenge. And for, a professional defect, I always prefer a cautious approach. The advantages and disadvantages, which is how to say the related opportunities and threats, and we might also call a SWOT analysis. In the first phase, it is necessary to understand which events or risk factors are related to the cloud in general and to each of the implementation models in particular. This is one of the biggest obstacles to the adoption of cloud computing systems, that is, clarifying the risks we already know and those we don't know. I leave an approach to some risks that any company faces as customers of a cloud service in order of severity. Data possession and ownership. For me, this is one of the most important points of all. This is a risk that is almost a surprise to the cloud customers, since many public cloud providers, including the largest and best known, have clauses in their contracts that explicitly state that the stored data belongs to them and not to the customer. All word processing documents, spreadsheets, databases cease to belong to us and become the property of the service provider. This makes no sense, and in my opinion it's very dangerous for a company or organization. Should we entrust our information to strangers? Cloud computing means computing on the internet, and right from the start you should limit the information you provide as long as you consider it to be confidential, important, any information that is crucial for your business. Cases are known in which the service provider ceased to operate and provide the service and has sold its customers' confidential data as part of its assets. What is this? It is very important to make sure that this risk is foreseen in the service contract and must make very clear that the owner of the information is the customer, not the supplier. It is necessary to analyze in detail and very carefully all the options for protecting sensitive data offered by the cloud computing service provider. One of the fundamental principles of cloud computing is the multi-tenancy model of a single logical instance shared by hundreds or thousands of customers. In other words, the typical architecture that allows the optimization of the infrastructure and software resources, keeping the data of companies, customers, suppliers, and even business competition logically separated. It is common for customers to share the same computing resources: CPU, storage, memory, network, and many other things. So, multi-tenancy is in fact an unknown risk, not only because our private data may be accidentally shared with others, but also because of the additional risk resulting from the resource sharing. The multi-tenancy vulnerabilities are very worrying because a flaw could allow another CFC attacker or any other to access our data. Well, I venture to say that multi-tenancy will increasingly become a major and increasingly common security problem. Another issue is, can your business function work in the event of prolonged interruption of your services? When we are a customer of a cloud vendor, redundancy and fault tolerance are not under our control. Generally, what is provided and how it's done are not disclosed. They are completely opaque. All cloud services claim to have fantastic fault tolerance and availability, all above 99%, even though month after month we hear about service interruptions for hours or even days. Well, what if internet access simply fails? In the last years, there were numerous interruptions to the cloud services, such as those from Amazon, simply because a service engineer typed a command incorrectly, and most of the internet services, including many business platforms, went offline for 4 hours. Availability issues reach also Microsoft Azure public cloud for more than 8 hours. IBM was also affected when the Bluemix Service Access Portal was inactive for a few hours. So, service redundancies must not have worked in these cases. Cloud computing makes the company dependent of the reliability of the internet connection. When you are offline without accessing anything. If your service breaks down frequently, has low speeds, cloud computing may not be adequate. As mentioned before, cloud computing means computing on the internet. Right from the start, you should limit the information you provide as long as you consider it to be confidential, very important or crucial for your business activity. Cloud computing providers have made great efforts to promote the idea that they are at least the most sophisticated data security systems. However, their credibility in this regard is suffering greatly in the wake of some reports of espionage and security breaches that have exposed thousands of users' personal data, passwords in recent times. Well, also keep in mind that your cloud data is accessible from anywhere on the globe, which means that if a data breach occurs through hacking, a disgruntled employee or a poorly implemented security can compromise your private and commercial data. Increasingly, there are reports of loopholes with supposedly secure companies. As large cloud companies have more resources, they are often able to offer levels of security a small, medium business company may not have the resources to deploy on their own servers. Well, this I usually call the outsourcing of IT headaches to the cloud. The second part of this document will be available next week. If you like the content, please feel free to press the like button and subscribe. This will encourage the creation of new content. See you next time.